Okay, so the first episode of this little podcast brain fart series is going to be about tipping culture. Now, the US has always had a tipping culture. They've paid their servers very low, and then it was always being topped up with tips. I used to have a friend actually who was a server in Florida, and she said that if somebody left less than a 15% tip, it's basically like an insult, which is just pure madness, but it's how it's always worked over there, right? The UK it's starting to catch up. So just to give you a bit of history about the UK tipping culture, basically we've never had one. You go into a restaurant, you get given the bill. Usually if the service is good or above and beyond basically what a tip should be, right? We usually give 10%. That's how it would usually work. And then strange professions like taxi drivers and barbers, you would tip them as well. For some reason, we don't really know why, but that was the way it was. But it was always above and beyond, right? If someone, taxi driver, was also a dick, you're not going to give them a tip. Same with the hairdresser, same with someone giving you food. So now it seems to be changing where it seems to be this discretionary service charges now seem to popping up on every bill. So you go into a restaurant now, you're giving your bill at the end, at the bottom, you've got a discretionary, air quotes, discretionary service charge, which is 10-15%. Now, being British, obviously we're very polite in many ways. And even if the service is not great, we're not going to take off that. It's more hassle to do it. If you give somebody a bill, it's got a discretionary service charge, 10-15%. There's 6-7 people around a table. You don't want to be that guy. I've been that guy, to be honest with you, but you don't want to be that guy. It's like awkward, and you've got to have that conversation with the waitress or waiter in front of everybody, and it's just horrible. And they know that because that's why it's in the first place. It's kind of just to guilt shame you into tipping. So even if you don't think the service was good or above and beyond what it should be, you just leave it on because it's easy. That's 10%. It's split between everyone. Yeah, just leave it on. It's fine. How was your service? Yeah, it was fine. But really, it wasn't fine. So this is one thing. I know also with regard to quality of service, this is affecting that as well because it's, when I used to work in a restaurant and a bar, we had certain tables. So you'd have 3 or 4 tables that were yours. You look after them. You want to make sure the service is good to those tables because you want to get good tips. You know, you're going to try and upsell a little bit, sell different foods, more drinks, and provide a good service so you get a better cut of the tip. That's what service is all about. Now you just got people serving in a restaurant. Everything is pooled together, all the tips. You put 10-15% on every single bill, which is discretionary. And there's no incentive to really to do more, to really provide that good service. So this is very frustrating for me at the moment. This is in, I'd say, 2 out of 3 restaurants now. You've got this discretionary service charge, but not only that, it's new culture of just like coffee shops. I went into a coffee shop last week and I can't remember, it was like an independent coffee shop, like an artisanal coffee shop. And some guy handed me the coffee, which was always tepid, by the way. It's always lukewarm from these coffee shops. They can't get the temperature right. He handed me the coffee, turned the terminal around, and it said tip 10%, 15%, 20%. There was no actual option. Well, it was a very small option in the corner to not leave a tip at all. I had to ask him, where do I press to not leave a tip? Most people won't want to have that conversation, so they'll just press anything, press 10% just to get out of there. We're very British. That's how we do things. But the guy just handed me a fucking coffee. The coffee's $4.40 as it is, by the way, before we've even added any tip onto it. And he's handed me the coffee and he's asking for another 10, 20, 30% on top of that. No, mate. No. You just handed me a coffee. Why should I tip you? You didn't even smile at me. There's no service involved at all in that. A robot could literally hand you the coffee. I just think this tipping culture's gone too far. With this discretionary service charges, with the service level has gone down because of it, I think, because nobody's working for tips anymore. And now people are expecting tips for just basically handing you things. Stop it. Just stop it.